Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism. I'm honored to present this daily conversation with fascinating people as we try to understand what's happening in the world around us. And so much is happening, and trying to figure it out, trying to decipher it, trying to demystify it has been the mission of the show since it started 98 days ago. That's right, this is the 98th straight show of this show, today's episode of the show, and I'm so grateful to everyone who's made this possible. Our wonderful viewers, our sponsors, our producers, Rose Horowitz and Vandana Menon, both of them who'll be live tweeting, Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon, and all the people who have shown up here as guests. We've had so many fabulous guests. Let me show you that in the first 75 shows, we had 155 guests, and 91 of them were women. And we're very proud of that. That number could have even been higher. And they joined us from almost a dozen countries, 38 cities, 25 doctors and nurses, authors, CEOs. All of those folks have shown up, and you can see the entire archives of our show on youtube.com/Sreenet, youtube.com/Sreenet. Please do check us out and please do connect with us. We are really honored and excited to have you here today on the show with us. We have a big show today because we are going to be talking to Mitchell Silver, the New York City Parks Commissioner, and he's going to join us in a few minutes. He's just getting ready in the background, and we are going to talk to him about so many different things that are happening in this city, but also that what's happening across the country and around the world. So you will want to absolutely ask him questions and talk to him. Please tell us where you're watching from. We do that global trip around the world as people introduce themselves. So please make sure you type in and tell us where you're watching from. Let me show you our show today. It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast. It's episode number 98. And we are trying to understand three crises in America: the health, financial, and racial inequality crises. And we welcome ideas for guests, theme suggestions, and more. We have had an amazing week already. Sunday, it started with Peter Herford, distinguished journalist, who showed us this video. You've all seen this video of Walter Cronkite receiving the news of President Kennedy's assassination. That's Peter in the background, right there in the glasses, listening in and helping cover the story of Kennedy's assassination. We say we bring you the people in the room where it happens. Well, there he is in that room, and that was Peter on Sunday. On Monday, we met the director of USC Equity Institutes at race.usc.edu. Suman Pendekar was with us. Nick Kristof and Cheryl Wu Dunn, big-time journalists and authors, Pulitzer Prize winners, were with us yesterday, along with Laurie White Tarikani, who is the funder of the Tarikani Lectures, given in honor of her husband, Jim Tarikani, on First Amendment issues. Yesterday, we celebrated his life and the First Amendment. Tonight, we have Mitch Silver, and tomorrow at noon at a special time, everyone, please join us as we talk to the chief scientist of the WHO, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, and the director of Pandemic and Epidemic Diseases Department, Dr. Sylvia Bryan. Please follow them on Twitter at Dr. Soumya and at SC Bryan. And then how do we close out the week? With, of course, our 100th episode. We're celebrating Juneteenth as well as our 100th episode. We're going to have several guests. Jonathan Borstein will be here, who has watched all 98 episodes, and he promises to watch all 99. And we'll be joined by Professor Noliwe Brooks, who is the W.E. Du Bois Professor at Cornell University. Imagine having that title. Incredible. And Brandy Harden will be here, lawyer and board member at Justice Aid. We also have several other surprises for you, so please stay tuned as we'll tell you about them later in the show. You're going to meet Mitch Silver in just a minute. Please follow him, Mitchell_Silver, on Twitter. He does his own tweeting, and you're going to learn so much from him about so many different issues. He also wrote a very powerful letter to his staff about what it's like to be an African American at this moment, leading a major department a department, by the way, that represents 14% of all land that belongs to New York City, parks, playgrounds, beaches, so much more. And he's going to talk about all of that, including I'll ask him about something that's very precious. He's in charge of 2.6 million trees. And there's something called a tree count and a tree census. We'll ask him all those good things as well. But of course, we have to pay our bills. So I know he'll understand if we keep him off stage for just another couple of minutes. Everyone, please go to Art & Co. Get involved with the world's largest online art auction fundraising for COVID-19 victims. artandco.net, artandco.net. Even if you're not a art collector, you know someone who is. And then look at this, a free teen camp, virtual teen camp from Rutgers University, globalentrepreneurshipexperience.org. You all know somebody with teenage kids. Tell them about this. Take a photo, take a screenshot, send it to them right now, and let them sign up for this. There's even a discount if they use the code SREE. So please do that and get that discount as well. And we want to make sure that you have a chance to have your kids learn from speakers from Cognizant, from Angie's List, from Google, from Facebook, and many others, including one terrible speaker, me. But please tell your friends to go to that website. The address again is globalentrepreneurshipexperience.org and use the code SREE. And we do want to thank our friends at Muckrack for allowing me to create, launched today, Fundamentals of Social Media, a free certification course. You want something to put on your LinkedIn? You want a certificate? Please go to mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. It's on demand. You do it at your own pace, at your own time. Please do this, mrac.co/social. 4,000 people have signed up. And look at this, Lauren Mack already has her certificate. She finished the course. It launched today. She's already finished, and she gets this lovely, lovely, lovely certificate that she can use. And last item before we bring on Mitch Silver is this. It is Father's Day on Sunday this week, June 21st. And we have two shows as we do every Sunday. We have my evening 9 o'clock show, and we have our Sunday morning New York Times read along. We've been reading the New York Times out loud like crazy people for 5 years. And we'll be doing a special reading for Father's Day with a wonderful father named Tom Jolly. Tom is the print editor of the New York Times. That's right. The print editor of the New York Times will read the print edition of the New York Times with us. Last year, we went to his home to do it in New Jersey with Neil Parekh, our executive producer. We're going to read it here on virtual time this time. So we have a special way for you to sponsor your a little ad for a father in your life. Thank a father figure, grandfather, uncle, male role model on Father's Day. Submit a picture and a message, and I will read it on both shows. Just go to digimentors.link/Father's Day. Digimentors.link/Father's Day, or just email me if this is all too confusing with people who have already taken advantage of this and sent us beautiful messages. You can too. Digimentors.link/Father's Day, or just email me. Okay, enough wind up, but this gentleman deserves all the wind up we can give him because he is awesome, and we're so lucky to have him here. We first met through our friend Stefan Kaplan, who's part of our Digimentors team, and then we got to be colleagues in City Hall when I was Chief Digital Officer of the City of New York. He was then the Parks Commissioner. So let me bring on stage my friend and your friend now. Please say hello to Mitchell Silver. Let's see if we can, let's make sure I can see you right there, Mitch. 1 second. I can see it's working. Hold on, I can see you there. Mitch, give me a thumbs up. I think he may be frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask him to leave the studio and come back in, and we'll have him in. So sorry about that. It was working just before we started, and I can see him in the back room. This sometimes happens with technology, but thank you all for being here. Mitch will join us in just a minute, and we will meet Mitchell Silver, Mitchell_Silver, NYC Parks Commissioner, former president of the American Planning Association, and one of the most senior American municipal leaders. So please stand by. We will talk to him. But in the meantime, let's do our global tour. Tell us where you're watching from. And Mitch will tell us if he's having trouble. He'll call me or some other way. Let me know if he's having trouble coming back on. But we're so close. We saw him on camera. We talked to him, but we lost him there. But let's see who is watching with us right now. Everybody, please do stay tuned. We will bring you Mitchell Silver in just a few minutes. As soon as there he is, he's coming on. You heard that beep. And as soon as he connects, we'll bring him on to say hello. In the meantime, a reminder to everyone, he just has to allow the camera to connect and the audio to connect. He's right there. I can see that he's about to join. His camera just has to turn on. This is fun with technology, folks. What can I say? A reminder that earlier this week, I talked to my former professor, Peter Herford, and Peter is the gentleman you see in that photo as Walter Cronkite gets the news that President Kennedy has been shot. And let's see here, the camera was working. I am not sure. Okay, let's try this time. Yes, I think it's Mitch. Say hello.
Hello, hello. It seems like the connection is playing with us, but I'm here.
You're here. That's the main thing. I'm so sorry, Mitchell, that was getting stuck. I hope it doesn't happen again. It could be an internet issue. We'll give it a second. We'll make it work. But your audio was coming through clearly. But let's see. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mitch. Folks, fun with tech. This could be an issue with his Wi-Fi. It could be an issue with the internet that moment where he is. As you know, we've had 155 guests and things happen occasionally, but we are so grateful to Mitch for being here. And thank you all for your patience. We'll come back to him again. He can leave and come back. That's something he can try, but there's just something that's playing with this. The gremlins are playing with us, but I'm going to read you to all of you the very important letter that he wrote to his staff just the other day that I want to read to all of you. So please stay tuned as I read you this very important letter that he wrote to his staff. So just one second, and here we go. So this is Mitch Silver. Please read along with me, or please follow him on Twitter, Mitchell_Silver. And I am just going to bring up the tweet so I can read it to you all. As a Black man and head of an agency with many Black men and women on staff, I shared directly my personal anguish in support of our community and all who condemn racism, discrimination, injustice, violence, and dehumanization. And now I'm ready to share with you, enough is enough. And I love this letter. It's one of the most powerful I've seen through everything that's been happening these days. And we will be joined by Commissioner Mitchell in just a few minutes, but I want to read you this letter while we wait. Dear Parkies, I love that reference to his staff. This is a difficult but necessary message to write. Compounded by what we have what we have been experiencing during the COVID-19 crisis, isolation, illness, and loss and grief, in real time, we are watching unfold before us. Before our very eyes, the impact that stifled rage can have on a community that has experienced generations of systemic racism. Triggered by the recent killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, and the false assault accusations against Christian Cooper across New York City, the state, the country, and around the world, people are rallying together and crying out in despair, demanding change. What we are seeing in parks and streets are protests with two personalities, peaceful protests and those hijacked by people inciting violence, creating chaos, and wreaking havoc. Some of what is unfolding is a direct result of the unleashed pain, anger, and rage one feels having lived in an unjust society hurt by racism and discrimination. The balance, the worst of it, is inflicted by the same people who are infiltrating to cause more damage. I know that what is happening around us is causing causing many of you the same kind of anguish that it is causing me. When issues of race and pain well up, it's like a scab being ripped off, and we are forced to address feelings we have pushed away down inside, and forced on what we have personally, and based on what we have personally experienced and what we have witnessed just to get by. And there's more powerful words there from Commissioner Silver, who joins us now. Commissioner, thank you for those very powerful words, and thank you for joining us tonight. I hope we've got the internet issue solved. If not, we will just keep trying, because that's what we do. And we'll see. He will speak up when he is ready. I'm going to keep reading that letter because it is so important for you to hear that voice. Mitch, you can speak anytime you like. Mitch, I see you.
Well, thank you very much for. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's great. It's working great.
Okay, we're all good?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for reading that letter. You know, as you said, that took a while to write. I just wanted to make sure I collected my thoughts. It was a lot to go through. I knew my staff was going through a lot, and I wanted the letter really to come from my heart. As a Black man leading a large agency, it was so important to communicate to my staff what they were feeling from the COVID. We're experiencing severe budget cuts, and then these series of events that really just picked a scab off of a wound. So I personally and professionally was.
Oh, sorry, we lost him again. I'm not sure what happened, but I'm sure he will be back. Let me continue reading this letter. As a Black man and the head of this agency, one of my goals is to make sure that NYC Parks is diverse and a safe place for all, space for all, that we walk the walk, not just the talk, that we protect and respect parkees regardless of your color, creed, gender identity, race, and religion, so that we can serve the people of New York City, providing them with green spaces where they can cultivate community and enhance their physical and mental health. Because of my role and these occurrences, I am reflecting on my life, experiences, and suppressed emotions related to the racism, prejudice, and unconscious bias I have faced personally and professionally, and I hope you are too. It goes on to say in the final page of this letter, as you reflect and cope with what's going on in your life and in the world around you, I want you to know that Parks has resources in place to help you address any related concerns. I want you to also know that we're working to provide other resources and experiences for parkees that will address systemic racism and the resulting repressed rage. I am hopeful that through dialogue and doing, just like the graffiti, damaged property, and defaced monuments will be cleaned and repaired, that our emotional scars can be soothed, nurtured, and healed, so we can all live equitably. Thank you, and see you in the parks. Sincerely, MJS, Mitchell J. Silver. What a beautiful letter. I'm hoping that Commissioner Mitchell Silver will be able to join us in just a minute. There's some tech issues, but let's do a global tour. First of all, I just want you to hear those words and know that I've worked in city government here in New York. I was the chief digital officer when he was Parks Commissioner then, as he is now. And he was always a very strong leader, someone speaking up for New Yorkers and for his staff. We'll hear some of the numbers of the people he supervises, the parks, land and beaches and playgrounds that he controls. All of that we will talk about. But I want you to know that it takes immense courage to write a letter like this. To some of us, it's obvious a letter like this from an African American in charge of such a big municipal organization. So obvious, anybody could write this, but it takes courage because it isn't easy to speak up, and you won't find that many folks who are able to say this publicly. And he's speaking from the heart. And when you are, as we've learned on this show, in these 100 shows, the last several dozen, we've focused on issues around the racial inequality. And what are the things we've learned? That it's not easy to speak up when you are a minority, and you don't want to be the one always talking about your being a minority. That's one of the things we've learned as well. And Commissioner Silver has done a wonderful job leading the Parks Department and guiding his staff at this very critical juncture in New York City's history and the world's history. And I see his camera is trying desperately to connect. If we have a problem, the other thing we can do is he can call me and we'll put his audio on the air for now, and we'll put up a picture of him. But the main thing is we want to hear his voice. That's what we want to hear. And you will be hearing that shortly if there is, if we can figure this out. But please stay tuned. And this is not at all Commissioner Silver's fault. This is the fun with technology that we have, as you all know. So I'm very grateful to him for being here. And here he is, his calling. And here is, I'm showing his phone without showing his number, of course. So Commissioner Silver, I have you. People are listening, but that's okay. Why don't you say hello, and then we'll see if we can figure this out.
Well, sure. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Sree, so much for that letter. It was certainly an emotional letter I had to write. It was something that came from the heart. Let me just... And I just wanted to make sure our parks employees...
Sorry, you were... Mitch, if the phone company's also getting in the way, then we're in deep trouble here. It's not just the internet. I'm truly sorry about this, but you'll call back. Here he is. He's calling back. We'll make this work.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
So I just wanted to connect with staff just to understand what was going on. To be a Black man of a large agency, it was something I wanted the employees to understand how I feel, that I understood how they feel. And we want to make sure we have for them, create safe spaces where they can talk. And we've already started those conversations. It was just unbelievable what happened the last couple of months. And our parkies have been going to work every day, keeping the parks open, safe, and clean. And just wanted them to know that I was there for them. So that's just the opening remarks. And I certainly want to take your questions. I'm not sure what's happening to technology. I do this a lot from my home. I even stuck in an Ethernet cable, but like you said, it is technology.
But we hear you loud and clear, and you have a beautiful voice. I noticed that a long time ago listening to you speak. So I'm glad we're hearing your voice. I also have your picture up on the screen so people can see you, and we'll show some of the various photographs of you at work. So this will do for now, and we're very grateful for your time after a very long day. The first question I ask, Mitch, all my guests: how are you? How's your family? What is happening around you apart from the work stuff that we're going to talk about?
Well, my family's fine. I've been coming to work since the beginning of COVID. Parks were an essential service, and so if my staff was coming to work, I wanted to come to work. My wife and daughter are at home. My daughter's taking online classes, and I'm in downtown Brooklyn, so a lot of activity, a lot of protests are passing up and down. I'm about a 10-minute walk from Barclays Center, not far from Flatbush. So you could imagine there's a lot of protests going on, and actually participated in a few over the past couple of weeks. I'm a runner, so I've been trying to stay healthy, walking and running. That's my way of staying healthy and, actually helping to focus my relief time in the park, walking, running. So that's been my relief. And so it's something I'll continue to do either in my favorite park, Prospect Park, or where I work in Central Park. But everything here is good.
And I'm glad to hear it. So I'm actually shocked to hear you've been going to work all these days.
Yes, and I had probably about 6 days off. A lot going on. We have 6,000 employees. Over 4,500 have been out in the field, from forestry to parks enforcement patrol, to our maintenance staff, to public programs, to our rangers. Yes, we're an essential service. And whether it's forestry, and we had storms where our folks had to be out there. So we have about 12 of us in the building. Usually it's about 250. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. What do we open? What do we close? We had to do social distancing work very early on. And so that's something that we had to do. And so as an essential service, if my staff's in the field, I'll be at work.
That's incredible. What a leader you are. That requires a lot of inner resolve and strength to do that, because it's hard to not set an example for your staff, but your own health is so important. And I know you're a big time runner. So folks are listening from around the world. We do, Mitch, at this point, what we call a global tour, where people tell us where they're watching from. So I'm just going to read you names of towns, places, and if you can just respond, if it triggers a memory, if it triggers a favorite meal, anything like that. So we're going to start. There's a softball for you, Mitch. Jonathan is watching from a place where he's been watching every single day on this lockdown. He's watched 98 straight episodes from Union Square.
Oh, Union Square. Well, that happens to be one of the destinations my family go to. There's both that movie theater is our go-to movie theater, but we love the atmosphere around Union Square. It's quaint, it's lovely. As a runner, there's a wonderful spray shower. There's a playground and the comfort station. We always stop to go to the restroom, so Union Square is a must-stop. But it's a great place from Vapiano's, where we love to eat, to the movie theater that we go all the time. So it's a favorite destination, but the park itself is ground zero for demonstrations, both Washington Square and Union Square. So I'm sure Jonathan knows that by looking out of his window.
Yes, he has. He's been reporting and sharing photos from his window. All right, next, Anand Babu is watching from Andhra Pradesh, India. Have you been to India?
I have not been to India. I was supposed to go maybe about 10 years ago. The trip didn't work. I was in China, and I was being encouraged to go to India since I was that far east. It didn't work out, but it's on my bucket list to go to India.
Well, now you're going to get a lot of invitations to go to India. All right, next, Apollo, great name, watching from Las Vegas.
Oh my goodness, Las Vegas. I have been to Las Vegas, and I stayed right across from what was the Eiffel Tower. Went to a great conference there, really enjoyed it. A lot of great memories. I don't gamble, but I was able to at least enjoy the great city, and it's true. It's a really fun city, and I don't know if they call it Sin City, but I didn't do any sinning, but I did a lot of fun, learning, meeting with some friends. Great place, hot place, great place, and I'd love flying into the airport. It's the only time you actually can see the entire city as you fly in.
I know exactly what you mean. Thank you. All right, Courtney is a former New Yorker. She helped really establish the early Silicon Alley scene. That's not a term we hear very often anymore, Mitch, but she now lives in Tucson, Arizona.
Wow, you left us. It is still the coolest place on the planet. New York City is one big playground. I've been to Arizona, not to Tucson, but certainly I know it's the sun state. It is hot, dry heat. I know a lot of people go to retire there. Love going to the state, been to Phoenix, been to Flagstaff, and so it's a great place. You got to come back. New York City is still the coolest city on the planet.
Terrific. And by the way, Apollo says, awesome. It's a fun city, but one has to be mindful is what he's talking about Vegas. So there you go.
That's right.
Let's keep going. And here's your friend, Stefan. He's tagging all your friends and he says, look who's on the call. You might know this guy named Mitchell Silver, which is pretty cool. And Rahadyan's watching from Center Reach, Long Island. Tell us about Long Island.
Well, first I got a big shout out for Steph. We go way, way back. Both my brother and I were very close friends, visual strategist, amazing photographer. So Steph, always supportive, always comes out. So just want to say a big hug to my good friend, Steph. I'm sorry, now back to your question.
We were talking, yeah, thank you. And Steph is part of our team and he does amazing work. People are tweeting right now and I'm going to go find some of his lovely pictures that he has posted of you and your family and your good times together. I'll find them and share. I'm looking at a photo right now. Let me see if I can tell who this is, but you inspire me, and you and Janine will always be near and dear to me. True New Yorkers, still together after all these years. So it's a nice photo.
That's my sister. My father passed away. He always wanted to come back to New York. Since he passed, I thought the best way to bring him back to New York and have a show in New York is to do one jointly with him. So that was an exhibit back in 2016 called My Father's Son. So I was able to do that joint exhibit with my father, even though he was no longer with us.
And your father was a renowned photographer and a pioneering photographer back in the day.
He was. Irwin Silver. Very, very wonderful man. We miss him dearly, but I was so proud to showcase his work side by side.
Thank you.
My work.
Thank you. And I'm so glad to hear about the exhibition and to see some of the pictures that Steph posted. So everybody look at Spin It Social and Mitchell_Silver. You'll find a lot of good stuff there. Courtney says episode 98. Wow, you're amazing with these shows. Rahadyan is from Center Reach, Long Island. So any Long Island comments? Also for our audience, not everyone will know exactly Long Island versus Brooklyn versus New York City. And where does your jurisdiction end exactly? All of that, if you can talk about for a second.
Well, it's all 5 boroughs. That's a total of close to 2,000 parks. And I oversee not just parks, but it's marinas, beach, the 2.6 million trees. There are 2 million trees in parks and 100,000 street trees. But it's recreation centers, pools. Is a very, very big portfolio, about 5,000 assets in total. And so it does cover the 5 boroughs. We have, when fully staffed, up to 10,000 employees, and we have 30,000 acres. Clearly, it's an amazing park system that really defines this city. Central Park is not the biggest park. Most people think it is. It actually is Pelham Bay at close to 2,700 acres. Central Park's about 843. So
wait, one second. You've already taught me something. I didn't know that. Lived in New York for, oh my God, on and off since 1980, and I didn't know that. So 840 versus 2,700.
That's correct. And then the second one is Van Cortlandt at 2,100. Yeah. Both of those large parks are in the Bronx. Right. So it's an amazing park system. It really defines our city. I believe parks, that would help a city stay healthy. Parks aren't just for mental health, but I'm not just for physical health, but they're also for mental health. And during COVID, I like to say they've been our sanctuary of sanity. And that's where people have been going since we've been in shelter in place here in New York.
I completely agree. Twyla is watching from West 92nd Street. So the Upper West Side, please.
Oh, the Upper West Side. So West 92nd Street, she's between 2 beautiful parks, Riverside and Central Park. So the Upper West Siders are very fortunate. The East Siders are always jealous. They have really the East River Esplanade in Central Park, but the West Side, amazing parks, particularly 92nd Street. So you straddle between just those 2 amazing parks. Great place to live, great food, of course, from out-of-towners. All those a little bit uptown, that's where Seinfeld hung out. So it's a really cool, chic, hip, great neighborhood, great views, sunsets in New Jersey. So you're right in the center, right there at 92nd Street. Great location. Invite me over, Twyla. I'd love to hang out.
And she's 2 blocks from me, so you got to come. You got to come through me first. Harold Cabezas is watching and says, checking in from the beautiful city of Rahway, New Jersey.
Well, I drove. If you live in New Jersey, you know it by what you see on the Turnpike and you see in the Garden State Parkway. I have not been to Rahway, but I used to live in Maplewood, New Jersey, and driving north and south, I did see the sign of Rahway. I can't say I stopped in, but I'm sure it's a wonderful place. I lived in New Jersey for about 6 to 8 years. Wow. So I am familiar about I know where Rahway is. I just have not been there.
You know what they said in Hamilton, in the musical, everything's legal in New Jersey.
Ah.
At least it was in the 1700s. I guess that was the meaning of the line in the show. Paula Kiger's watching from Tallahassee, Florida.
Wow, Tallahassee. I have not been there. My parents lived in Florida before they both passed. It said a lot about Tallahassee. Did not go by. Been to, of course, many other, Miami, Orlando, Jacksonville, Panama City, but I haven't been to Tallahassee. But I do know that Florida is a great state, a warm state. But other than that, I thought about retiring there one time, but not ready to do that yet. So hope you're enjoying that wonderful sunshine state.
And you've got way too much to do. We're not going to let you retire. And Paula says, love, love, love. 3 loves the NYC Parks. And Himati is watching from Brooklyn, New York. We're here in Brooklyn. Dog owners want to know when will the dog parks reopen? Please, thanks.
I would love to open the dog parks. We're working with Public Health Department and the mayor to make a decision to get them open very quickly. Because people know how to reach me. I have to tell you the 2 things I'm hearing the most is tennis, playgrounds, and dog parks. And so we're trying to move as quickly as possible to get a decision. If you watch the news, the mayor's talking about what we're ready to do on phase 2. I don't want to say too much. We're working very hard on getting what we call those Group 1 park assets open to the public. So be patient. It's going to happen soon. But public health has been our top priority throughout this entire pandemic, and we want to make sure we're here to that, even when it comes to our dog parks. But I hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. There's a CNN story. FDA cautions pet owners about infecting their pets in new videos. And they're talking about the dangers of human beings coughing on pets and then the virus staying on the pet, and things like that.
Well, look, I have tracked all the news, and I have to tell you, things come out day after day that need to be peer reviewed and verified. As a runner, this article came out in Europe about the spray as a runner, and a lot of that was already debunked. So I know a lot of people just want to put out stories. We haven't heard that. We'll listen closely to the CDC and what they say. We believe dog parks are safe. We're concerned about people social distancing within the dog parks because, as you all know, maybe someone may not have a mate or partner, but New Yorkers have a dog, and many of them. And so we just want to make sure those social gathering places remain safe, people social distance. But I don't pay much attention to some of those stories. We've been hearing this again and again. If that's the case, there have been a lot more spread in New York City as people walk their dogs down the block.
Absolutely. And just to also say that I'm glad to hear you pushing back about the runners, because I do see runners, and after hearing it's 12 feet with runners, I want to run away when they're running by. But I'm glad you're giving us some hope here. Doug Levy is watching from San Francisco, and he says, so many news sites are regurgitating old stories, but talk to us about San Francisco.
Well, first of all, I am absolutely in love with San Francisco. Outside of New York City, San Francisco is my favorite city. If I had to live anywhere else in the United States, it would definitely be San Francisco. It's charming, it's unique. I love those cities that have an identity without trying. San Francisco has that uniqueness. I love the topography, the personality. It's just one of those magical places for me. And I love a city that's three-dimensional, not just in its height, but in its landform. And so it's just one, as you're running or walking, you get these peaks of the bay and these peaks of things that, Alcatraz. So it's just one of those places I absolutely love. And as a runner, it's a challenge. I now learn how to run the edge, not through the city, because those are some of the biggest hills I've seen in my life. But the place is just magical. It's special, it's unique, and I think it's one of the most iconic American cities, of course, outside of New York.
Tell us how many miles you try to do a day.
Well, when I'm training for the marathon, I have to get up anywhere between 20 and 40 miles a week. So I run about 3 days a week when I'm training. So it varies. Your long runs on Saturdays is the base of your run. So that goes anywhere from 8 to 22 when you're training on a Saturday. And then during the week, you're doing probably a 5. Then midweek, you'll do between 7 and 11. So you add that up, it varies. But when you're in the height of training, you should be hitting about 40 miles a week. Otherwise, I average 15 to 20 a week.
All right. By the way, Doug's Twitter handle is SFDoug. So he says New York City is a close second to San Francisco. And but Doug spent a lot of time in New York, and we worked together at Columbia. He has changed the way people communicate in times of crisis. He's already published a book about coronavirus about 70 days ago. So he's really on top of things. He works with various emergency communications teams, and also he's offering on his website at douglevy.com, or you can write to him. He has there's a new free newsletter that has 3 coronavirus stories checked and rechecked that he sends out every day. Everyone should sign up for that. I think it's very important. We're getting lots of comments and questions, so we're going to keep going. Is that okay, Commissioner?
That's okay. We got to figure out maybe for 100. I got to get back on because I'm missing just seeing you. But yes, keep going, please.
All right, thank you. And I have a show on WBAI 99.5 FM Saturdays to noon. You've not lived, Mitch, till you've been on a public progressive stations call-in show, which I'm sure you've done before, but I'm telling everybody else. And we have people calling from the extreme left and extreme right, and it has put a lot of years on my life these last 3 months talking to our friends from all over New York City. People call in from around the world. Let's see here. Roberta is watching from Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond. Okay, so I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm very familiar with Richmond. Of course, if you drive on 95 and pass through it, love their train station. Wish it wasn't just underneath I-95. But it's a great city. Been there. There's so many brick structures is what struck me when I went to Richmond. But a very charming southern city, very close to Raleigh. When I got there, no offense, but I wanted to make sure that Raleigh would overtake Richmond as really the major new emerging southern city in the South. And so found it very charming. Loved going there. Loved the brick buildings throughout the whole city. But that train station, Amtrak, is just one of the most elegant buildings that I've seen in the South. So enjoy Richmond, great place.
Thank you. I'm showing everyone the NYC Parks website. You have a lot of information on there, nycgovparks.org, and you can go on there and see parks, facilities, events, programs, kids, permits, trees, opportunities, and our urban wildlife calendar, park equity, what's next in parks. So much great stuff. Parks Junior, virtual art exhibit for the LGBTQ, for Pride Month, of course. We'll be covering that on our show, the topic of Pride Month on our show. You even got Alexander Hamilton in New York City. So you're part of the pop culture as well. So that's great.
Yeah, parks are just iconic. I mean, I was a planner most of my life, and I have to share this story. When I came to parks, the headline was "Ex-Planner Becomes Parks Commissioner," and that was the Daily News, and I was like, "Wow, that's interesting." And all my planner friends made fun of me. But then it was after a year on the job, and I said, I realized something. People literally hug you when you open up a park. And I've been in planning all my life. No one ever hugged me for creating a land use plan. There's something about parks that are endearing. There's a connection that people have to their park. There are memories. When I go to Prospect Park, where I grew up, I have memories of my father and my brothers who ran together. My brother passed away. And there's just something about it that you just create these great memories. They're therapeutic. My mother died when I was very young. And walking through botanical gardens actually healed me. The pain of just seeing the gardens and the flowers. So our public spaces and green spaces are very therapeutic. As I said, they're physical health, but also for mental health. And after the pandemic, after each pandemic, you saw this explosion of green space. And my expectation is you'll see the same, but I'm looking also for rethinking of our streets and sidewalks to make them more human, more walkable, more green. So once this pandemic is over, the post-pandemic, I'm excited to work with my friends and designers across the country to really rethink our public realm to be greener, healthier, better, less for cars, more for people and cyclists. And I think that's really the future of cities. So we could prepare not only for future pandemics, but for overall better health.
Aparna, who's watching in LA, is just tweeted, "You might not have a mate or a partner, but New Yorkers, they have a dog." And she's tweeted you, and she says, "#Miss New York City." So here's your chance to talk about LA.
Oh, so I've been to LA many, many times. And it's just an elegant city. I never forget the day I went there for a conference, and while people went off to do some certain sessions, a friend of mine rented, believe it or not, like this van and hit every tourist destination we can think of in the entire day. It was probably the most fun I've ever had. And then I was invited to speak, and I opened up my windows, and what am I looking at? But it was a Hollywood sign. It was so impressive. I took a picture for my daughter, who got very upset at me because they don't always travel with me, just to show them all the incredible places, the assets, the diversity of LA is really one that moved me. So I enjoy going to LA. I plan on going there soon once the COVID crisis is over. But it's certainly a fantastic place, and it rivals New York as one of the largest cities in the country. And I have a good friend, Vince Bertoni, who's head of the planning department over there. And I almost got hired before Raleigh to be the planning director in LA, but it didn't work out. They ended up in Raleigh, but a great city. And it's one that I can't wait to go back to visit again.
We should tell folks that you are the past president of the American Planning Association, an enormously influential, huge organization. You were the first African-American to head that organization, and now you're president-elect of the AICP. Talk about that, please.
Well, the AICP, the American Institute of Certified Planners, is actually a subsidiary of the American Planning Association. It's a component. And so now as incoming president, the initials you see after my name means that I'm a certified planner. And so I'll be overseeing that commission that certifies planners, that comes up with education, accreditation, how we ensure that planners address equity and sustainability and climate change. So there's a whole certification maintenance or credits we have to maintain to ensure when you hire a planner, you're hiring a certified planner. So you can hire an accountant, or you can hire a CPA. It's the same with planning. We want to make sure when you hire this person, they have the credentials, the integrity, and the ethics to do their job. So I'll be taking over in January of 2021 as the incoming president. Very excited. So not only I was the first Black president of APA, I'm now the first Black president of AICP as well. And it's an honor and a privilege to work with such an amazing organization that helps plan for communities today and for tomorrow.
They're lucky to have you. We just want to make that clear. That's a volunteer gig that you're.
It is.
Yeah, just to be clear, you're not leaving the New York City park,
No.
the parks yet. So that's good.
No, it's a volunteer position, but my term does end December 2021. And so, of course, we're trying to get as many things done as possible. I want to thank my staff and my capital team. Since I've been here for 6 years, we completed over 700 capital projects in New York City. We were going after Robert Moses to try to see if we can beat him, but now that all projects are on pause, and now they're slowly restarting up again. But it's so important that we build so many of these projects, particularly in underserved communities. And that's been my focus. That's been the mayor's focus, to really dedicate new resources, rebuilding parks and communities that need it the most. And so that's something that drew me to this job. And we're trying to get as many of those parks done as possible.
We're so lucky in New York City to have you here. Tell us what, when the New York Times writes that story in January of 2022, what will the 3 things that they will put in there that you're most proud of?
Well, one, I hope that this Community Parks Initiative, what we worked on, this was a program to start rebuilding parks and communities that hadn't seen investment in 20 years. This is one that still pulls at my heartstrings, because to look at some of these playgrounds in New York City that looks like just asphalt and old play equipment, and then revitalized to be sustainable, to be green with trees and greenery, that to me is the one I hope they write about. Number 2 is listening to people. All these park projects was a community engagement process, because I wanted people to be heard. We have a conversation, I want to listen and make sure it reflects their needs and their desires for the future of a public space. The other one is a number of projects that got done. When I got here, people said the process took too long, 5, 6, 7 years to build any project. We got it down to roughly about 3 to 4 years. We streamlined the process and we were able to complete over 700 projects, and we're not done yet. So to me, that is what's critically important. Number 1, a Community Parks Initiative. Number 2, how we connected with people. We don't just call ourselves a Department of Parks and Recreation, but a Department of Fun, Health, and Happiness. Every city should have a Department of Fun. And so we've adopted that upon ourselves, of doing things to make the city livable for people, fun, healthy, and people want to be happy. So we've changed our image to people who just cut grass, but actually bring that fun, healthy, and happy environment to New Yorkers. So that's what I'm hoping I'll be remembered for. And the fact we got a lot of stuff done, because New Yorkers deserve it, and underprivileged communities deserve it as well.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to talk more to you about all the projects you've done as well. Folks, you're listening to a very special conversation with Mitchell Silver, the Commissioner of NYC Parks, the President-elect of the AICP, and past President of the APA. They're seeing all the initials on the screen as I'm talking. I'm occasionally holding up my cell phone. It doesn't have your phone number, of course, but they can see that we're talking directly to you. I'm just showing your name on the screen. I also want to say to everyone that please follow Mitchell on Twitter. He's Mitchell_Silver. You mentioned,
and Instagram. I have a different personality on Instagram. Yes, same handle. It's easy to follow. Instagram is more of my running. I won't say mischievous. My other personality. It's more about the running. I take a lot of pictures of parks, but we started hashtag #IRunTheParks when I was training for the marathon. So I love taking people on a journey through the parks. But I also just love photography, and so they get to see that on my Instagram side. Twitter is more the quote-unquote business side. So that's where I try to really share some thought-provoking information. Also on LinkedIn, where I get to write a little bit more about my thoughts about a post. So I just believe in being thought-provoking, starting up a conversation. I do focus on parks, planning, and public space. That's my space that I like to work in. But IG, Instagram is more where it's a little more of my different personality. So
yeah, we're looking at it right now, Mitch. It's Mitchell_Silver, and we can see the personality already here, and have a beautiful photograph of the Obamas. I've been posting hashtag we miss the Obamas, and I can't tell you how sad it is to see the legacy of both Obamas being attacked every day for the last 45 years now. And then seeing that what their vision was and is for America, how it's being dismantled in many ways, but at the same time, just reminiscing or being whimsically thinking, wouldn't it have been awesome to have, if you don't want a pandemic, but when you do have one, you want competent leadership at the top.
Right, and I think it is unfortunate what's going on. I don't want to get too political, but I do want, my hope is as we go forward, I'll be careful what I say, but what I'm saying is I think a lot of people are craving leadership, particularly in these difficult times. We now have well over 117,000 people have passed away from this pandemic, and over 2 million people affected. Economic destruction, this country needs hope. And so I do hope by November we'll have a new direction that we can start rebuilding this country, because a lot of broken people, unemployed, damaged neighborhoods. We want prosperity. I believe in equity, which means for all, not for some. And my hope is we will elect someone in office that understands what for all means, for all Americans. I pay taxes. I love this country. And my hope is that we could somehow all come together, not focus on division, because this is the greatest country, I want to say, in the world, because we have a lot of people that are from all over the world, but this is a powerful country. And my hope is that we stop on the division, and I'm so grateful. This one act of George Floyd, which was the tipping point, the entire planet's crying out to say enough is enough. We need a new direction. We're all people. No one's better than the other. No race is better than the other. And I'm so grateful that right now people are seeing the injustice of social and racial injustice that Black Americans have been feeling, at least in this country, for 400 years. Enough is enough, and we have to start turning the corner to do better.
We're seeing so many great comments coming in. People are Rahadyan just said, "Amen, Commissioner," right now. And Rana is watching from Pakistan. By the way, if you've been to Pakistan and not to India, you're going to get a lot of people upset. So
okay. But Sree, I do want to say this one thing, yes. And it really wasn't covered in my statement. And this incident for me, being a Black American and suppressing so much inside for all my career, started to just, as I said, a scab was picked off and so much started flowing. What I realized, what I'm sharing with my colleagues, they're saying, well, what can I do? And I said, the right question is, how do you feel? Because Black Americans are feeling a lot of pain right now. We'll get to what can I do, but right now, how do you feel? How I feel is I feel liberated, that I can now speak out and share things I couldn't as Black Americans, and not just us. If you're not white, you have to check your ethnicity, your race at the door when you come into the workplace. You're not in a safe space where you can be you and express your culture and how you feel. That's what I'm hearing more and more. The pain people have of suppressing how they feel, not to either be retaliated against or face consequences just from speaking out how you feel. And so it's not just as Latinx, it's Asians. Everyone now feels this liberty. I don't want to check my culture at the door. I will explain to our white counterparts, you don't have to do that, but we do. And so to feel the liberation as a Black commissioner, to express myself really for the first time in my career, feels good, and staff feels the same way. I want to create that safe space where they can come in and say, this is how I feel. And so we're already thinking of programs and opportunities down the line to make sure after I leave, we can institutionalize those safe spaces where people do not have to check whether you're queer, whether you're Black, whether you're Latinx, whatever it is, it's okay to be who you are and not check it at the door before you walk into your workplace. That's my hope, and I'm hoping that this is the direction that we're going in.
So beautifully put. Thank you very much, and that's what so many of us really want. Marilyn says Staten Island loves New York City Department of Parks and Rec, and Marilyn was very involved in the rebuilding of Staten Island after Hurricane Sandy, tropical superstorm Sandy, and we are grateful to have her in our lives and making sure all New Yorkers pull together in the same direction. And by the way, Jonathan, who's lived in New York for so long, says, I didn't know that about Pelham Bay. So you're teaching lots and lots of folks. You got a shout out from the Philadelphia Parks Alliance. They're watching the show, so isn't that cool? And Christine is watching from Conroe, Texas. So Conroe, C-O-N-R-O-E, Texas. I do not know where that is, but Texas is a big, big place. Apollo says, I wish there were more public parks in Las Vegas. And Jonathan says that I am between Union and Washington Squares. The demonstrations march by my window on the way from one to the other. So he's getting a front row seats. And Marilyn says, I live in the green belt and our parks are the community's lifeline. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And Twyla would like to give you customer service feedback. I would like to compliment Eddie, who has been tasked with closing bathrooms at tennis courts at 93rd Street on the west side. I've seen him several times, friendly, thorough, and efficient. So I don't know if you have a way of communicating that back to your team, but Eddie, who closes the bathrooms at 93rd Street.
Got it. Well, thank you. Well, this has really been wonderful. We got to do this again. I'm going to stay in my office. I'm not sure what happened in my apartment, so next time you let me know, because I'd love to see people face to face. It's up to you, because I know you have a series. But
yeah, we'd love to have you back. Yeah. Before you go, if you have just a couple of minutes, I do have one or two questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah. So first, we're showing your picture of after you completed Global Running Day, and that nice photo of you running. It is hard to run with a mask, isn't it?
Oh my God, it's really hard. What I do is I pull it up and pull it down, especially when I'm a sweater. I sweat a lot. When it gets wet, it's almost impossible to breathe. So what I do is I pull it down when I'm not near anyone, and then when I approach them, I pull it up again. I wish other runners would reciprocate, but they don't. It was a Global Running Day. New York Roadrunners will do this every year, and so I wanted to do my part. But you're absolutely right. It is really, really hard, but I'm committed to stopping the spread. I want others to commit to stopping the spread. And if it inconveniences us, you're saving the life of a loved one, of a friend. So I just tell people, wear the face covering. You can pull it down, pull it back up again, but be kind.
Yes, and I think more people should be doing that and should be listening to you as they do it. Could you just talk of, I think one of the things that's happened to so many of us is that we are seeing African Americans speaking up, as you said. Scab has been removed. There's now a chance for you to kind of be yourself. Many of us have to adjust who we are in public spaces, in the public, not just African Americans, Indian Americans, the accents we use, the words we choose, the way we might emphasize one syllable versus another. And what is your advice to young people who are not, who know that they now follow in your footsteps and that they can be their own person? What is your advice to them as they gain that new freedom?
Right.
Are there things they should watch out for? Because we're feeling free, and of course, I mean, much more African Americans and Latinos and disadvantaged South Asians and others. That doesn't mean everybody's ready to accept us, is it?
Well, no, I think number one, I don't know if particularly young people are the problem. I find the older generations are the problem, because you're not born being a racist. You learn to be a racist. And I think for young people, as I look at the various generations, I'm optimistic about the younger generation. They're the ones that really push for Black Lives Matter and actually liberated someone like me. I'll be 60 in 2 weeks. And so I'm thankful that I've been liberated, because my entire life I had to suppress who I am in order to get ahead or come to the workplace. So I think it's really the older generation that need to set examples for the younger generation. Please don't share negative stereotypes and images. The media now is getting wind of it, how they portray people of color on TV. The news media who only focus on Black people getting arrested or creating problems. So there's a lot of a re-education that has to occur, even including these EDI statements, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we have to understand when we say inclusion, that also means not excluding. And what does that mean? Do you make people feel uncomfortable by the food you offer, about how you have a conversation? So I think in terms of what I say to young people, be who you are. Don't hide it. And ask for a safe space so you can be who you are and not someone who you're not. Don't conform to someone else's image. Be who you are and create those spaces where people can have those conversations. And if you can't say it alone, bring others with you to challenge those to say, this is not a safe space. We don't find this type of behavior acceptable. Work with us to change it. And so that's what I'm hoping for young people. Don't fall into the trap of being educated and manipulated into thinking one race is better than another, and work together for a better tomorrow. We all have to share public space together. We all have to share the workspace together. And dividing one another with these unnecessary thoughts is not going to be productive for a greater society. We will be a majority minority country, if you want to use that term, by the 2040s. This is something we have to do. It's our destiny, so we have to start changing and working together now.
Thank you. Mark Lee is tuning in from Durham, North Carolina, and says he's turns 58 on July 1, not far behind you, and proud of our young leaders in the civil rights struggle.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Hello, Durham. I was in Raleigh. That was a good part.
And so many people commenting, and a couple of things. In your letter, you named the names. You said their names: Breonna
Yes.
Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, and
Christian
of course,
Cooper.
yeah, and Christian Cooper. And that happened in your park. Talk about that day when the video came out. Let me just remind folks: an African American man is walking. He's in the bird section. He's a birder and watching birds. And he says very politely to a white lady with a dog, "Please move your dog," as he has done in the past. He's even had treats with him so that he can entice the dogs to go away from where he is. And she loses it. And she calls the cops and keeps saying, "An African American man, an African American man," as opposed to any other man. And you could sense that what she was hoping is that the cops would come in and not just arrest him, but do real damage to him, harm him in some way. It was like I don't know how to describe that, but tell us how you heard about it, and all hell broke loose, I bet.
Well, this was Memorial Weekend, and I worked that whole weekend. I think that was a Monday, and I was home relaxing because I had worked the 2 prior days, going out to the beaches because we had just opened up the beaches, not for swimming, but for walking. And I think I just came back from Orchard Beach. A friend of mine, a former commissioner, just emailed me, said, "Did you see this?" And when I looked at it, my jaw dropped. I was in utter shock. What happened was Christian Cooper was in an area called the Ramble, and certain parts of Central Park, you must have your dog on a leash. She didn't. And he'd ask her, "Can you please put your dog on a leash?" And she felt very insulted and privileged, and she falsified her voice, calling the police, saying that he was going to do her harm. Bottom line is, I think the event took over and the police came by. Bottom line is, they didn't find him. He taped it. If he didn't tape it, this would have had a very different ending. That one video went global. Over 40 million people saw it. And that woman's life fell apart, lost her job, initially lost her dog, and the same day, George Floyd later that night was murdered. So that really triggered a lot of events, but that was a shocking thing. And I found out relaxing at home, one of my few times off, and then that thing just exploded.
Thank you for sharing that story. I bet it made it hard for your staff as well to deal with that and the outcome of everything.
Well, a lot of us, we don't want to be falsely accused, but I think it hit home to a lot of people. And again, that same night is when George Floyd was murdered. So it was just a string of events that really just started to hurt a lot of people. But it was hard to see. That video was very, very hard to see.
It really was, and so problematic on so many levels, and so unacceptable that would be the case. We had on our show last week, Commissioner, a professor from USC who has written a book, just came out, about smartphones and African Americans and how it has changed the world and saved all these lives and triggered so many good things. Do you agree that the cell phone and the ability to take video has made that difference?
Absolutely. If it's someone's word against a black person, we're going to lose. And the fact that they now have video evidence, and even sometimes with video evidence, the person is still not brought to justice. But it's better to have that phone than not have that phone, because at least it gives you some protection and will back up your story. But who knows what would have happened to Christian Cooper if he did not tape what Amy Cooper did? What would have happened? What would have happened to George Floyd if another video surfaced showing how one police officer guarded anyone from getting close to George Floyd when he appeared to already pass away? So I absolutely agree. It has been a savior for black people, and not just black, but for others, that people can record in real time what is going on. So the answer is yes. I carry 2 cell phones just in case one doesn't work.
But it's, we're laughing, but just to imagine, folks, that for those of you who, there are people, there are racists of all colors, and they're coming out now. We had on my show an Indian American educated man tweeting under his own name, a friend of mine, saying, oh, African Americans are always getting freebies. African Americans got all this land after slavery ended. And he had to be taught that that's not true. But on your case, the point you make, here we are, one of the most powerful, influential men in America. And I called him one of the most interesting men in the world, has to carry 2 cell phones for work. But he also knows that they may save his life one day. Just imagine the pain that is to go through every day, knowing that if I forget my phone, I've forgotten to tweet. If I forget my phone, I can't call my wife. If I forget my phone, I may not die because I don't have my phone. And that's the pain that African Americans are going through. This is the education that I'm getting and that we're sharing on this show. And Rahadian says, Apollo says that she, Amy Cooper, was aiming to harm him, and demonstrates the resilience of racism and those power dynamics that have literally resulted in the deaths of innocent people.
That's true, and I think that's why it was so painful. And like I said, I don't know if it's providential that all these events happened at once, but it wasn't just me, it was my friends. I mean, when I started getting emails about Christian Cooper and everything happening, this is collective across the country. People my age, at 60 and then 40s and then 30s, each person started to experience a different way, but everybody came to the same collective conclusion. Enough is enough. And Black lives do matter. They're challenging corporations. If you don't say it, Black lives, not all, we know all lives matter. We're specifically talking about Black lives, and we know this. I can go into Macy's and people turn around and hold their pocketbook. At my age, I mean, this is something you just deal with, or go into certain places and people are following you. I can tell you story after story where I was in a hotel in Buffalo, New York, and they called me down in the middle of the night saying, your American Express card, you can't cover the $300 fee for that night. I'm like, are you kidding me? There is American Express, there is no limit. And so they called me out of my bed to come down, the security card followed me back up, little things like that we experience that a lot of white people do not have to go through. And so I think it's the collective feeling is that enough is enough. We're not going to take it anymore. And we're going to stand up and we're going to march and we're going to protest and we want to see things change. That's where we are. And that's why I'm grateful for the young people that motivated all of us across this planet to stand up for our rights. No more social injustice, no more racial injustice, no more racism. Enough is enough. It's time to change.
Makran says, Mitchell Silver, namaste. Bryant Park is my favorite. The first ever no walls, first with seats in the park, first Wi-Fi free books. Parks are the place for a citizen in the city. So you've got a fan right there.
Amen. Amen.
And my father is watching in Trivandrum in Kerala, India. He says, parks make New York very special and beautiful. Sharing public space is what the commissioner stresses.
That's correct. That's why I love the job and people love parks.
And he, I know, would love to have you in Kerala, India, when you go to visit. We call it God's own country. It's a very green place, so you'll feel at home. And I know people would love to have you there. It's my dad's birthday today on the 17th. And tomorrow, of course, he's already up and awake and tomorrow. So happy birthday, Dad. And if you want to call in, I'll put you on the air with the commissioner. But we're going to let the commissioner go because it has been a long day. I just want you to know, Commissioner, that one of the things we do on this show, I interviewed Kimberly Crenshaw, the great scholar who coined the term intersectionality. And she said, Sree, if you do nothing else, say their names, say her name, say his name. And so we do that at the end of the show, and we will do that today after you leave the air. But I know you said their names in your letter on purpose, and it made a difference.
Well, thank you, Sree. This was certainly a privilege and honor. Please let me know if we can come back where I can do this live. I'll do it at the office where it's all connected and wired with no Wi-Fi. Thank you so much for this opportunity. People enjoy the parks. As you come to New York City, explore. If you need to give me for me to give you a personal walking tour, I'll do that in Central Park.
Oh my God!
Thank you.
No, well, we're going to take you up on it. I don't want everybody to email you. We'll come in a group, socially distant, and we'll do that when things are better.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mitchell.
All right, Sree.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Wow, folks, that was Mitchell Silver, the New York City Parks Commissioner. He was amazing. We heard every word came out so clear, and everything he said mattered. And we're sorry that you couldn't see his face because the way he speaks is also beautiful. but you got to hear his thoughts. I'm so grateful to everybody to be here, but don't leave. I have a couple of things I want to tell you about our 100th show coming up. And don't forget, tomorrow we have another epic show. We have joining us the chief scientist of the WHO will be here. Is that not amazing? Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, she's at Dr. Soumya on Twitter. Please follow her, chief scientist of the WHO, and Dr. Sylvia Bryan at SC Bryan, director of the Pandemic and Epidemic Diseases Department of the WHO. The only reason they're coming here, folks, is because of you, because you have supported the show for 98 days. You have made it possible for us to talk at clearly and loudly about the issues that matter, about the health system, about the economic system, and about the racial injustice in this country. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about our big plans for Friday night. So Thursday at noon Eastern time is the chief scientist of the WHO, World Health Organization, and our colleague, the head of the pandemics department. So we are very grateful to both of them for being here, but we will have on Friday night our 100th episode. And we are so grateful to everybody for being here and supporting us. So we're going to have a special 2-hour edition, which means we'll go from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern time, and people can join us from around the world. And we have we're going to mark Juneteenth as well. That's the big holiday for this country. It should be a big holiday for this country, but only really African Americans have marked it all these years, but we're going to mark it. It's the end of slavery, and we'll have our guest, Nollywood Brooks. She's the W.E. Du Bois professor at Cornell, and Brandy Harden, lawyer and board member of Justice Aid. They will both be here on Friday, along with Jonathan Borstein, who will have watched 100 straight days of this show. Just incredible that he has done that and shared so much with us, and we have learned with him. So how can you participate? We've got something new and exciting that we're experimenting with, but this is what is unusual, or what is important about this is something teachers do in this around the world every day, but K through 12 teachers, but now you can also learn if you haven't. So there's a cool tool called Flipgrid. So you go on to Flipgrid and you go to EFE. You can take a photo of this or use your QR code, and it will take you to a page where you can open. So you can see here, I just did that, right? And then I pointed my camera, and look, it opens on Safari. I'm just going to click on that, and it takes me to a specific page where you can then participate in my Flipgrid. And let's see here. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to send in a video of up to a minute of anything you want to share about this show, or how you're feeling about 100 days of lockdown. So please go on to Flipgrid, and you should be able to find me and send me a response. We would love to have you, and just look for Sree Sreenivasan on Flipgrid, flipgrid.com. I'll talk more about this tomorrow, so you'll have a chance to do it. If you're confused, just email me or tweet at me, and we'll send you the link. So it'd be very easy for you to participate and send me your videos. So that way we'll have lots of videos from people, and we'll be able to play them on the air. So if you would like to join us, please do on Friday, send in a video, and that's the easiest way to do it. So Flipgrid allows you to crowdsource as many videos as you want. I could set how long I want you to speak, so we set it for 60 seconds. So any comment you'd like to send us that's 60 seconds long, you can. I'll play it on the air. You can record it from now till Friday night. And that's a fun way for us to connect. But we'll have on the show at least 3 guests, but we have some surprises in store as well. And we want everybody to be able to join us and learn together. We want to say to everyone that there's so much going on. Makran says 100th show, Sree, amazing. When would you have green architects on the show? I think that would be an interesting topic. My mom's watching from Kerala. Hi, Amma, love you. Wish I was with you. What's the code again? We'll get it to you. We would love to have you all participate. And Apollo says a personal walking tour. That's right. We'll arrange that for viewers of this show, a personal walking tour with Commissioner Mitchell Silver. What an inspirational man. He was a great colleague when I was the Chief Digital Officer of New York City, but I want him to be able to go to India and visit my parents and say hello to them, because I think, my dad says I'm actually walking in our own little park in Kerala right now as he watches this. Love you, Dad. Hope you had a good birthday. I know you're very busy with everything you're doing around the India-China troubles at the border that are happening right now. So even as all these other problems are happening, those problems do continue. I want to tell everybody about what we're planning for Father's Day. We have an epic day of shows. So we start with Tom Jolly, the print editor of the New York Times, is speaking on Sunday morning as we read the New York Times together. And he's the print editor of the New York Times. He'll be reading at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Please join us then, 8:30 to 10 or so. He'll be with us then. I am executive producing this, my new favorite show, and I hope it is yours too. It's called She's on Call, and it's a show about it's a show by two female doctors talking about life and medicine and healthcare. And this is last week's episode, but they'll have two new guests this week on Sunday at 11 a.m. And you can see, please follow them on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. She's on Call, at She's on Call. And they are looking for sponsors and guests and speakers and all of that. Email me if you have any questions. I'm proud to be an executive producer on that show. One of my friends said she watched the whole show. I had no idea that I was one of the 3 EPs, and that was deliberate because we really are focusing on the power of these women to make great changes in the world, and this is a show that helps us do that. When do you see 4 female doctors talking on a show? So there are 2 doctors and there are 2 guests every single week, so please check us out with that. On Saturday night, we have a great speaker as well. Jacqueline Dolly will be with us. She's a career strategist, and she will talk about how you can work on your strategy for your career during this pandemic, and it'll help you. And she's also someone who has reflected on the issues of our day as an African-American woman. What are the things that she will share with us will be very important and special. Please join us on Saturday. So I didn't finish telling you, from Sunday morning, you'll see Tom Jolly, print editor of the New York Times. Then you'll meet these 2 doctors at 11 a.m. And then my 9 p.m. positivity show is fairly unusual because it's Father's Day. I am going to, I've been given permission by my twins, my 17-year-old twins, to have them on my show. We've had a show about a 7-year-old. We've had a show about a 9-year-old. We've had a show with 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds, but never with older teens. And 2 17-year-olds, my twins, are going to join us right here, and we're going to talk to you about life as a teenager and during pandemic, what it's like to spend your 17th birthday locked up with your parents, what it's like to have your SAT exams canceled twice, and things like that. So you'll really learn a lot. The only reason they agreed to do it is it's their father's gift to me, so I think I cajoled them into doing it. So please join us at 9 p.m. on Sunday. And now on both shows, we will be doing a special Father's Day promotion, a chance for you to give a shout out to a father in your life, a father figure, or a father or grandfather, uncle, male role model, anyone you like. You can submit a picture and a message. It'll be read on the air during both shows. And you can see a picture of me with my dad and a picture of our executive producer, Neil Parekh, with his late father, Prakash Parekh. And you just go to digimentors.link/Father's Day, digimentors.link/Father's Day, or just email me and we'll tell you how you can buy this little ad, something fun you can do for your dad. You can show it to him or the father figure in your life. It'd be really fun. And please do let us know. Sree@sree.net. We'd love to get you involved. And please do write to us with that information. We'd love to have you here with us. So before we go for the day, as you know, every day on the show, we read their names, we say their names, and I'm very grateful to all of you for staying with us as we do that. And we are basing it off this cover story of Time Magazine, cover by Titus Kaffer, a very important painting that Titus has done, and it's based off of this photograph that you see here. A young George Floyd with his mother, Arsenio Floyd, who died 2 years almost to the day. And that's an amazing photograph and an amazing painting. And now we'll read their names. The names are Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jeraine Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Scott, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Kaylin Rockmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castillo, Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmad Arbery, Brianna Taylor, and George Floyd. I'd also add to that list the name of Rashad Brooks, was shot and killed. Can you imagine in the middle of all this? I hope you've seen that video. They engaged with him for 30, 40 minutes. Peaceful, no weapon, nothing. And he was killed, shot dead, shot in his back. That is just unacceptable in every way. And the DA today filed, has put together charges. They haven't gotten to the point where this matters yet, but they are capital punishment eligible. And I can tell you that I am anti-capital punishment, but the fact that they can have that on the books, and this could be on the table, doesn't mean he's going to be found guilty, doesn't mean any of those things, but tells you the severity of what's likely to happen in terms of the awareness, at least, of these issues. We have a few more comments coming in, then we do the ads, and then we say goodbye. Steve says this was wonderful. Christine says thank you for another amazing show. Thank you. Apollo says thank you for saying their names. And Christine says city parks are our introduction to public lands. We're so blessed in the U.S. that they have such a large and diverse array, and city and county parks are as important as they are the most accessible. And she has done an amazing project about national parks. And I hope you'll write something, Christine, so that people will know how to find your podcast, which you've done with your kids. It's fantastic. Work on something, we said, and you worked certainly on it. Please do share that so that people can find your project, and maybe we'll have you on the show when things subside a little bit in terms of what we are thinking about. And we want to thank our sponsors as always. First, we want to thank Muckrack Academy for creating and allowing me to show you fundamentals of social media for journalists, PR pros, and everyone, a free certification course. It's already live right now. It's a Netflix style show. It is not live. Go to mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social, and you could get this certificate, as Lauren Mack has already done. It's just a couple of hours, the fundamentals, just reviewing them, and you can put a line on your LinkedIn as she did. So please do say thank you to our Muckrack friends. I also want to do a big shout out to Art & Co. Get involved in the world's largest online art auction fundraising for COVID-19 victims, artandco.net, artandco.net. And we want to thank Rutgers Global Entrepreneurship Experience, a virtual team camp. Get 20% off the code SREE, globalentrepreneurshipexperience.org, globalentrepreneurshipexperience.org. Please do sign up or tell anyone who has twins to sign up for that opportunity. And with that, we will say goodbye to you. We'll say thank you all for participating. Please do let me know if you have any questions. Please email me. My email's on right there. My YouTube channel. Please subscribe, youtube.com/Sreenet. And if you're not on our WhatsApp, you can sign up. This is not a WhatsApp group, folks. This is just a very simple WhatsApp alert system. You just just hold up your phone, and you can then get the QR code and join a WhatsApp alert. So when I'm live, I'll just send you a note, and that's how you'll know I'm live. I'm live and alive. I told people that I would also, those would be the first people I tell if I get COVID, and we've survived so far, but nothing's guaranteed in this life. Folks, don't forget tomorrow, meet the WHO, the World Health Organization. Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, Chief Scientist, will be here, and the Director of the Pandemic and Epidemic Diseases Department will be here. Please follow them on Twitter at Dr. Soumya and at SC Brian. They'll be joining us from Geneva on this very important show. It'll be 6 p.m. tomorrow, and we will be very, very grateful to all of you for your support. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Please stay in touch. See you at noon tomorrow, or watch in the archives. The YouTube archives are the best way to catch up with everything I do online and with video. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye.